From Mr. Addy here that we are now running live. So welcome to everyone. This is our Facebook streaming of our work session that is in preparation for our board meeting on the following Tuesday, which will be November the 5th. So, which is also election day, by the way, so everybody remember to go out and vote. So what I'll do is call this meeting to order, and our first item on the agenda is a report from Retail Strategies, who is our retail development group, and we have the three folks here to do that. One face is highly recognizable. Ms. Gregory, who has joined that group, is here with us today. But if y'all, whoever wants to take the lead on that, this is pretty casual, so y'all are welcome to get up, move wherever you need to go to give us the input that you'd like to share.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Thank you,
Introduce
Mayor.
yourselves if you would, please.
As the mayor mentioned, we wanted to get up here and give you guys kind of a verbal 10, 15-minute update on everything that we're working on within the community over the last 8 months or so. We've got a lot going on. I'll keep it high level. Can't really mention retailer names. But some people that we're working with, we're glad to get back in the market today because we need to get our eyes on a few things, including College View. Been working with Shannon Benson and Graystar out of Memphis on the retail portion of that project. We toured around there this morning, also looked at a few other sites. We've pitched several different restaurants that could be a fit for those guys down there in that space. At first look, I think it's going to take some time to fill that space. There's been an influx of a lot of habitational development, as you know, over the last 18 months, all of which have a retail aspect to them. But working with Shannon, we've got a spin class, according to Scott Farmer and Shannon. They've traded papers. They're moving forward. The guy's getting trained out of California as we speak, the guy that's going to be giving those classes. We shared some demographic information for a national coffee user. It would be a licensed store. They're already here in town. So we're hoping to push that over the finish line, as well as Pizza by the Slice, which the mayor's mentioned to us multiple times that we need. So we've been going after it. And with that said, I'll kind of move on to the Vista, which there's two retailers that have traded papers on that property. One is they have a location in Birmingham. It's kind of a beer pizza joint. They have Pizza by the Slice, so I know you guys are really excited about that. Also, there's a boutique store going in there as well. Been working with Charlie Norton for years out of Harvard Realty out of Birmingham on the space down there downtown east of here. They have 2,600 square feet still available. So that's kind of a good perspective on how long these type developments take to get leased up. It's just going to take time. So we're actively working on those deals as well. At 12 development, we're all familiar with that. We spent a lot of time in the office with our team, our sister company as well, evaluating the incentives that were proposed to the city by the parties involved. We were happy to put our eyes on it and reassure you guys to help you make a decision whether the numbers that they were requesting were accurate, which we felt they were. So we're working with obviously Mark Castleberry and Lee Norman out of Jackson. Had a great relationship with Lee, been working with him with projects all over Mississippi for years now. He will be in Atlanta in 2 weeks along with Mark. Talked to Mark this morning. We're planning on getting together and going after some national guys that are interested in that development. The only retailer that we're aware of that has traded papers is Aldi. There are several others that are extremely interested, but again, this is going to take a little bit of time. It's going to be a home run for the city. It's going to generate a whole lot of tax revenue for you guys, so we're excited about that, and we're hoping that things move forward the way they're planning. Let's see. We've all heard the buzz. I guess that's been a few months ago now, of a certain van driving around town. It was on Twitter. It's a college sports bar theme. I'm pretty sure you guys.
Huh? So
They're out
no,
of-
we haven't all heard the buzz.
Okay, well, I don't want to mention names, I mean, you, well.
Well, if they've been
heck,
driving around town, you might
I'll
as
do
well.
it, walk-ons, they've been,
Oh, okay.
walk-ons, yeah,
yeah.
out of Baton Rouge, sorry.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yes.
So Charlie Colvin, great guy, he's the master broker for those guys. Also, there's an investor in our sister company that works with them as well. Prime example of persistence pays off. We've been working with them for years. Just didn't want to let them forget about Stark Vegas. They like college towns. They like this community. They're coming. It's just a matter of where. Been working with Joanne Lucas with the university as well as David on some properties over there. Unfortunately, with some dealings with how everything's laid out, and Taylor Nichols, who actually used to work or is involved with Ergon and all that. But anyway, they've moved on from that corner up there. They like that site the most, but they've moved further on down 12 toward the Walmart and all that. I can't tell you the property, but we're close to being able to announce something. So very excited about that. It'd be great for parents as well as the students and everybody in the community. So like I mentioned, got Atlanta coming up in 2 weeks, which we're really excited about. Starkville's high on the radar as far as things that we're working on. Charlie Colvin and out of Baton Rouge with walk-ons, and Mackenzie Landry, that they'll be there. Let's see what else.
You're about to get some help there. He's getting notes.
Army Reserve Building 2 years ago. We talked to Ty Mabry, but the new MLA for the Army Reserve is Hyde Smith, or not Hyde Smith. He's the senator. Jimmy Stringer. So we're trying to work with.
She's the senator.
She's the senator. Excuse me. Working with him, Jimmy, on what's going to happen with that property. And then I'll kind of turn it over here to John to talk a little bit about the Huddle House, Jason Perry, and the Payless Shoes site.
Yeah, so a couple of the vacancies that you'll see on down 12, Payless Shoes, nationwide, shut down every single store. I think it was 700 or so. Fred's, same deal, shuttered all the stores. So Larry Tabor purchased the Fred's building, and we've gotten with him on plans. What he plans to do with that building, kind of if he wants to break it up into some shop spaces. Currently, before he purchased it, he didn't realize it needed a new roof and HVAC. So he's doing that as we speak, and then got a couple tenants that we've seen take over these Fred's across the country. Really a lot of ramp up in kind of discount retailers that can just quickly go into these 16,000 square foot spaces and take over 80 of them at a time, just because all of them.
You mean like
close.
Dollar General, those kinds?
No, Discount Apparel is one of
okay,
them. There's
gotcha.
a hardware user that can fit that footprint. There's also a fitness user that goes into those, and automotive as well. So a lot of people that you'll see in Columbus that have wanted to be here and just couldn't find a space. It's not technically on 12, which is important to a lot of users, but it's got pretty good visibility from 12 and a pylon sign that sticks up in the air that they can throw a sign on. Another vacancy, like William said, is Huddle House. They dropped their price $100,000 recently, so that's good to hear. Kind of a small piece of property, but we're hopeful that we can re-engage some of the folks that they were up almost to $700,000. So now it's come down to in the high 5 range. So we're going to re-engage some people there and see if we can make something work now. A burger chain is entering the Mississippi market. Got I think over 130 locations in Alabama and Tennessee, and maybe 2 or 3 in North Mississippi. They've been touring around Starkville, so continuing to look for spaces on Highway 12 that they can try and purchase. They don't like to pay a lot of money, as anybody doesn't like to pay a lot of money, but they're pretty particular on their land, so we're trying to get creative on a couple things. And like William said, the Payless shoes, you know, we talked about that, and there's a tenant looking at a space right around there in that kind of Kroger out parcel area. That we're hopeful serve smoothies and some sandwiches as well. So hopeful that comes through.
Is there any activity on the pecan acres? Is that kind of died on the vine, or that area, you familiar with that?
I'm
potential
familiar with
project,
it.
Or is that still moving forward, and I haven't heard anything on it in a while?
I haven't heard anything on it forever.
Ogden, is that?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that any idea?
Go ahead.
We were very involved in that, and I think kind of, you know, it hit a couple snags, as y'all are aware. Things were moving way too slow. And most of the tenants that would have been interested in that are gonna be involved in the Castleberry deal now, so.
And not to throw cold water on you, but y'all need to not be talking about the pole sign at Fred's, because there's Fred, I think it's 6 months, and that pole sign's no longer going to be something they can use.
Okay.
2021.
Yeah, in 2021, our pole signs are all supposed to come down and be monument signs,
Okay.
that, per our sign ordinance, but I don't want you to,
Signage, it will just-
Right.
They're just gonna be limited to how high.
yeah, they're gonna have to come down to a monument sign, but I just don't want that to be something,
Yeah.
since you said it to
No,
us.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanna
They
make
can
sure
still,
y'all
you
are not
know,
out there.
I mean, just passing on 12.
Oh, yeah, it's
look through
very
the gas
close.
station, you can
Yeah.
paint the wall or
Yeah.
something, but.
Exactly, that's why you don't have to have a
Mural.
pole sign.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I just
Good
didn't
to
want that
know,
to be
no, absolutely.
a point that you were selling,
Right.
because that's not gonna be the case. Okay, so, all right, any
Any other
questions,
questions?
anybody?
And I
Go
know
ahead.
Jen and the mayor have my contact information, but I'm gonna leave a couple cards up here for anybody that knows of any local people that might be interested in opening up a shop in the College View or something like that. Happy to give them some more information or connect them with Shannon out of Memphis with
Scott.
Gray Star or Scott Farmer, and tell them a little bit more about the project as well as
Alderman
everything else that's
Sistrunk
going
has a
on.
question before y'all. Go ahead.
What I was hearing when y'all were talking about potential retail recruitment here is that traffic is apparently a big thing, either because of Highway 12 where you have a volume of cars, or the Vista and College View project, because of the density of people in those
Right.
areas. Is there something else we as a board ought to be thinking about to help y'all be successful, helping us recruit groups here?
That's a good
That's a
question. I
bigger
mean, I know,
question than
I know Highway
two
12 and the medians, you know, that a couple of years ago, that kind of, you know, you can only control so much that Department of Transportation does, but that's settled down. You know, the medians are where they're at, so people can't complain anymore that they're not getting access here or messed it up here. And so people are starting to kind of, you know, they get really worked up on something like that. I mean, change,
Yeah.
obviously. Traffic is still there on 12. It, you know, they hadn't gone elsewhere. They just got to figure out how to get where they're getting. You know, we're seeing a lot of improvements aesthetically, which is helpful, like Ken did. You know, that kind of slows down traffic and makes people go a little slower, which is always good. And I think medians have probably helped with that as well in 12. I don't know if there's research on, you know, wrecks going down or.
Yes,
Way down,
43%.
way down.
I'm sure that was a big help. And, you know, decel lanes help, slowing traffic down and,
So slower traffic means.
Yeah,
you
because
see
I
your
think you
stores,
exactly.
And then they turn in and shop.
and parking, you know, I don't know how much the city controls the parking, but
Yeah,
William had a good point, you know, and this, you know, I know the city doesn't own land that's directly adjacent to every single street, but when we were down at College View, you know, there's parking on the side they own, but then there's those woods on the other side. He was just saying, like, pull off parking that's diagonal would be nice, you know, for restaurants to hop in, go grab your food and get back in your car and go, instead of maybe having to park back in the back lot and then walk around. You know, just convenience these days is really helpful.
That could be, parking is obviously a huge deal with retailers. Take this downtown property. for
Mugshots.
Mugshots, form mugshots. I mean, people that we've put it in front of are just concerned about parking. But like John said, when we were pulling up to College View, if we're going after certain folks, they want to know, well, yeah, the people that live there obviously are going to go eat, shop, whatever, exercise at that location because they live there, right? But if you were to put a retailer there, are you willing to go drive over there and go to it? That's the question. So when you're pulling in, it's not as accessible. And we were going to mention, I'm glad you said this, we were going to mention this to Shannon of if there would be a possibility for some diagonal parking there as a destination place for people that live there, or do not live there, excuse me. So that might be something to put on your radar. I haven't even looked to see who owns that property on our GIS system or anything like that.
Across the way?
Yes.
Atkerson.
You're talking about diagonal parking on the street.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just similar to downtown, you know.
Yeah. I would say if it turns out that street develops into a downtown street, then I would consider that, but I don't think we're quite.
Not there
I don't think
yet.
we're quite there yet for that to happen.
Right.
We'll have
but
parking opportunities on the Vista View or Vista Street coming down once it connects. Don't we have parallel parking on there? Planned on there?
So if and when that street connects and other things develop out,
Yeah.
and there's things that develop out on the street, and then I think maybe you have
Right.
a little bit more opportunity to think about diagonal parking on that street, perhaps.
And that's, the Vista View is the kind of construction, I call it road, that they're using right now to go.
Yeah,
uphill.
it's got a street that's gonna come down, and then
Right.
they've now gotten access from, or purchase or gifting, donating, whatever, to the university for Atkinson's remainder of that property for it to come on down and connect with College View.
Okay,
So
That's
that there
good to
is
know.
access from university down to College View.
awesome. That'll really help
That'll
as
help.
well for the retail standpoint.
Correct.
I don't know what the timing on that is, but
Back on Highway 12, what about the old Advanced Collision Body Shop location? It's prime real estate, kind of across from Lowe's. The buildings kind of lack something to be desired because they're kind of hodgepodge, but the property's got to be, you know.
garage space. It's
great
next to a strip
location.
center.
Right.
Yeah, small strip center.
There's something to keep in mind. It's been vacant there for at least a year or so.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some developers that look into those things and will gladly take a look at it and put it in front of others that, you know, similar to the hamburger users that are looking around, could be something they overlooked.
Yeah, we were looking at the former old car wash site this morning as well, but as soon as we got our eyes on it, we realized how shallow it is, so that's kind of a hindrance there, but thank you for mentioning that.
Well, in the old bumpers location.
Mhm.
What's the name of that auto body shop?
It was formerly Advanced Collision who moved down the highway and got a very nice location.
Right, yeah.
In the old Honda.
In front of Tractor Supply.
12 in the
Yeah.
intersection, 12 and 25, yeah.
So to make the Huddle House property work for many, you know, quick service restaurant users, you'd have to also purchase.
Isn't there an adjacent property next to it, though,
the
Insurance
insurance,
Associates, right next door,
Stephen
now available?
Bailey?
I'm not sure who owns it.
Spencer Bailey.
yeah.
Spencer
Spencer.
Bailey owns it.
But that could be
His
maybe a
price has
package.
not come down to $1,000, like.
They're probably worth more, they're probably worth more together than
Yeah,
they are
that's
separate.
okay.
So,
Okay. All right.
Dirt work, too.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
mhm.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. We
Thank you,
appreciate you
Mayor.
coming in. Look forward to hearing from you, you know, at least
Absolutely.
twice a year or so, or
Sure.
as things happen, and you want us
Absolutely.
to know about it.
We'll keep you guys
Share all
posted
the
on-
information on base camp with your
Sure.
team, I'm sure you do, so.
Sure.
Thank y'all.
Okay, all right,
We'll-
thank
we'll
you.
Keep you posted on walk-ons as well. We're close,
Okay,
we're excited
super.
about that. It's gonna be good.
Great, thank you, thank you. All right, Mr. Edward, you're going to give us just a brief report on your proposed restructuring, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Man, it's some small font.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it didn't print out very, very clear either.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not very bright
Trying to
either.
get Lisa to maybe pull it
Is
up.
it a vision test today or something?
I do not need this bucket of candy in front of me either.
Leftover trick or treat, what can I say?
Okay, well, I apologize about the size of the font. I know it is difficult. Yeah, I got plenty. All right, so this is something that really I, along with NAB, have been working on for the better part of a year. And really something that's kind of been bouncing around in my head for a better part of a couple years. We have really tried to reimagine what this department would look like due to some of the challenges that we've been facing with. We've talked with other communities. We've even gone up and visited some communities to see how their process and structure looks like, and trying to come up with something that will address not only the current challenges, but also some of our long-term needs to be more efficient, to be more responsive, and to hopefully be better utilization of our taxpayer dollars. So first sheet you'll have there is our current street department flow chart and what it currently looks like. I have highlighted that all the positions that are vacant. Just to give a very, very brief history on the street department, about 5 to 6 years ago, we had 3 long-serving foremen who were in these positions, that 2 of them are now vacant. They had been there for pretty much their entire careers, 25-plus year folks. A lot of y'all might remember them, Arthur Johnson and Jimmy Ellis and Bill Stevenson. They could do it all. They could operate equipment, they could finish concrete, they were the true public service, kind of full, long-standing employees. Well, over the span of about 3 to 4 years, they all retired. And so that left us in a very difficult situation, because the problem was there wasn't a lot of, to use a World Series analogy, there wasn't a whole lot of people in the bullpen ready to come in and take over those positions. We did have one equipment operator who's been promoted to foreman, but as you can see, the other 2 were vacant. We tried, and we have been trying for a couple of years to get those positions filled. And it faced with a couple of challenges for different reasons. One is you really need quite a bit of construction experience to be a foreman. You're essentially running a crew, you're supervising employees. You need to have that kind of level of expertise and management to do that in a safe and effective way. We were not able to recruit that type of employee with our pay structure. Obviously, the pay structure has been changing and trying to bring more up to date, and I think that is really good for us long term, but I still think we are, there is quite a bit of disparity between the private sector and the public sector and what we're offering, unless you start factoring in benefits and things like that. So we had that and have been unsuccessful in recruiting those people, but we also have people down on the lower part of the org chart that you'll see are vacant too, and those are some maintenance workers. And part of the reason why we have been unable, or we have chosen not to fill those, is because we really didn't have a whole lot of frontline supervisors that could help manage them. So what we've been left with is a void of leadership in the top, and our crew sizes have gotten a little bit outsized because we haven't had the supervisory experience there. So what's happened is we've almost kind of gotten down to 1 or 2 crews, with the foreman running one, and then Larry having to come and be more of an in the field kind of supervisor as well. So those are some of the challenges we've had. So we've been trying to think about how can we respond to the current situation that we're in with these challenges, and also set us up well for our current needs as well as the future needs. And when I say current needs, really and truly, our current expectations, I guess you'd say, for our department have changed a lot, even in the last 5 years. 10 years ago, we didn't have an online work order submittal system. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have a lot of other, ways that these work orders are being submitted and brought to our attention. So there's now this different type of way of communicating, and there's also, I think, a higher level of expectation from the residents and the citizenry on when the work orders are completed, and then also how we communicate back to them as far as follow-up when they are completed and when they will be completed. So I think that we need to do a better job of that in kind of getting more into pace with our kind of technological environment we have now. So how could we potentially do this as far as getting our department right-sized and also setting us up well for the future? And so if you look at the second sheet, I've come up with a couple of strategies I think that we can do to do this. And first is, I think we need to do more, emphasized internal training. Our progression plan is helping. I think we've seen some successes with that, and I think that long-term, I think having that system in place will help motivate and incentivize employees to take those next steps and to continue their own performance and professional development. But it does take time. I mean, it really does. We have had, recently we had one maintenance worker that came in as a maintenance, I think he came in as a maintenance worker 1 or 2, and he has really taken a lot of initiative, and he just got promoted to an equipment operator 1. I think people like, and we have others in our department that have not made it to that level yet. But I think that those are the type of folks that are the future leaders of this department. And we need to continue to cultivate their knowledge base and their experiences. And so I want to really focus on that, more internal employee development. I also want to be thinking about what happens when our current senior leadership retires. That might happen a year from now, it might happen 3 years from now, it might happen 5 years from now, who knows? But I don't want to be in the same situation we're in now, but even worse whenever that time occurs.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
And Nav, have you ever reached out to Dr. Hogan? Okay, I need you to contact Dr. Hogan and have some dialogue with her about some of this, because she's doing some of the kind of training and stuff at Millsaps that might very well be able to fill in some of these gaps that we're having. And she's a resource.
Okay.
So would you please reach out to her and maybe have a dialogue with her about this? Thank you. Okay, sorry, Edward.
That's okay. So the next question is, I think, how do we go about doing this? And I've kind of outlined some things here. But before I tell those, I wanted to just kind of mention what Larry's role, our superintendent's role, has kind of evolved into. You know, the superintendent role is supposed to be more of a managerial, administrative oversight, day-to-day manager. But that position has evolved due to the leadership void we have at the top. Is there's administrative duties, but there's also managing a crew out in the field, because we only have limited supervisory folks there. So really what I'm trying to do with this plan is separate those two and let Larry, our superintendent, really focus on the in-field training, helping build up these younger guys, be out there with them every single day, help manage really the multiple crews, teach them how to run the equipment, teach them things to be looking out for, and really almost fast track, if you will, these guys' progression. Not necessarily from a timeline standpoint, as far as they're still going to have to go through the progression plan and meet all the time requirements. But what I'm talking about is just from a competency, knowledge base, proficiency standpoint. You're really helping them excel much faster in that, because you're spending a lot more time with them out in the field as opposed to being pulled in a lot of different directions. The managerial duties would then fall into a new position that I'm proposing to be created called an operations manager, where that person is going to be doing a lot of the day-to-day managerial admin duties, but also doing a lot more of the planning. So we ultimately, hopefully, can be more efficient in the work that we're doing as far as work planning, labor planning, equipment, material, etc. So that would be some of their responsibilities. The other thing I think we are planning on doing that really dovetails into this is, starting at the beginning of the year, we are going to implement a new work order system with the utilities department. And the new system is going to be a mobile work order system that's going to require more, I guess, responsibilities for the in-the-field guys to complete the work orders via iPads, and the dispatches in the work order assignments will be dispatched really more from a technological standpoint, as opposed to the old, passing out a paper, when they get that done, they come back and they get another assignment. It's going to be more real-time, with more almost like utilizing that technological advancement and tool to help us to not only do our work more efficiently, but also communicate better with those people that submit those requests.
So do they currently have iPads on the field at all?
Ours don't.
Do not?
No.
Okay.
We're really doing the old school, And to be honest with you, we implemented a work order system only about 8 to 10 years ago. And we have a very rudimentary process that's kind of keeping up with it, but it's not really tracking time. It's not, it's very poor, in my opinion, on how you can develop reports to kind of really track how many work orders we're doing and how long it's taking and that kind of thing. So this new system is much better in that sense. We'll have much better reporting requirements, and we'll be able to really tell how efficient we are as a department. The other thing is to really do smaller, leaner crews that will be really led, instead of having a traditional foreman to lead a crew with a foreman, an equipment operator, and a maintenance worker or two. We will have much more nimble crews that can go out and do these. Obviously, these crews are flexible and expandable depending on the job that comes in, but there's no use in us sending 5 people to do what 2 or 3 could do. And unfortunately, we're left with that situation sometimes now because of the lack of the leadership void that we have.
Question for you, Rick.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna move from 18, you got 18 laborers, you got farmers and manual workers, so you're gonna leave from 18 and go to 14. And then on your new progress, you're gonna go from 14 to 8. So you're gonna increase one manager, you're gonna add one manager to it, and then you're gonna lose 4 farmer worker, labor worker. I say labor worker more with engineers and all that.
You're going from 18, you're saying 18 here,
Yeah, from the bottom on the first sheet, you're going from 18,
right?
and you're going over to 14.
Right. But you understand too that the superintendent is also going to be out in the field too, so that really needs to be counted as well. And he's kind of back and forth right now.
This won't generate more outsourcing than we already doing with it.
Well, that's one of the things that I talk about in the report on the e-packet is the responsibilities really of the street department have evolved over time, and this is not a situation that's unique to us. It's happening really across the country, and not only in public work type employee or organizations, but also in utility organizations. Is that from a cost standpoint and an efficiency standpoint, when we want to hire out more of what we would consider capital projects, those will be done by contractors. They have the equipment, they have the labor, they have the expertise to do it in a much quicker time frame. But as far as our roles have kind of changed really more from where we used to do capital projects, when we had people like Bill and Jimmy and Arthur, they knew how to lay those really big pipes. They knew how to pour all this different type of concrete, curb and gutter, all that. And we can still do some of that, but we don't have the amount of personnel that know how to do that now. I mean, we have very limited crews that can do that. But the contractors do. So our department has really evolved in more of a maintenance type department. We're filling potholes, we're maintaining drainage, we're fixing signs, we're doing mosquito control, we're clearing right-of-ways, that kind of thing. We're not installing new storm drains. We're not pouring a lot of new curb and gutter. We're not building roads, that kind of thing. So I would say that from a contracting standpoint, it would be very similar to what we're doing right now.
You are installing, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, you are installing small sections of sidewalk, I mean, from concrete work, like for utilities.
From the utilities, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are small, limited, that's right.
Okay.
The other change that you'll see is recommending to move on the engineering side to providing some technical support instead of having an engineering intern position, to move it to an engineering tech. Interns are great, but they're very variable in the scheduling and availability, as well as the amount of competency and knowledge that they have. In addition, you also have this kind of rolling, continual cycle of training those people. So we're recommending that to meet all the current and ongoing needs of the engineering department that somebody like that could do. That's your mapping, development of easements, doing some minor surveying, traffic counts, things that need to be done, that there's an expectation done from the engineering and streets department, but that can be done by someone like with a technical knowledge base instead of a professional engineer. So then the last page is, you're probably wondering, how much is this going to cost? And the goal from the very beginning is that this plan would be budget neutral. So you can see the cost breakdown there. Let me also mention that we did recommend to move one full-time maintenance worker to a seasonal worker, which is basically to bring them in only during the peak times, which is typically in the summer, when we're doing a lot more of the asphalt and road type work, signs, painting, striping, any of that kind of thing. So that would kind of really help from an efficiency standpoint too. So that is, in a nutshell, the plan. I think it provides, in my opinion, an opportunity to be more efficient, to address our current and our long-term needs. It sets us up in a succession plan also. And I think it will help us to be able to kind of respond to the current demands of the community.
Nobody who currently has a job will not have a job after this.
That's correct.
These are all vacant positions.
These are all vacant positions.
And still some to fill, right, according to the.
We will still have some to fill,
Yeah.
and we've been holding off on filling these until we had an opportunity to present this as an opportunity for you guys to have some input on it. I just, understanding we've tried these other things and it's not really worked on filling these positions, so we're gonna try something else and hopefully, and see if we can do something different there.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, all right. And now, from the positions that we've been unable to fill for however long it's been, a year or so, is there any feedback there that would inform the board of anything we need to be considering?
Well, the two main positions that Edward mentioned would be the foreman positions. We have had trouble filling those. A lot of it is dealing with the market as far as keeping with pay. We kind of been on hold with the equipment operator and the maintenance positions. We've been using seasonal workers to kind of fill that until we made a decision about how to restructure it. But I don't anticipate us having any issues on replacing or filling the equipment operator and the maintenance worker position that we currently have.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So I guess I do have one question. Sorry, Edward. First of all, thanks for you and Nab putting this board together. It's certainly some things to think about. Outside of the new operations manager, which would be a new position, and then the engineering tech, if the board were to decide that we're in favor of moving to this structure, do we have position announcement criteria for what those, or do we have something similar already, or would that be starting from sort of scratch to develop that position and what that looks like?
We have in your packet the job descriptions.
Gotcha.
We've already put together a draft of that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, we could probably get through our agenda items fairly quickly because there's nothing, I don't think anything particularly stunning about any of this. And if we want to do consent, we'll look at those if nobody says anything about it. Chris, the two sets of minutes?
They've been approved.
They've been approved, no issue?
Leave the first one off, go to the second.
Leave the first one off, okay. So we'll put the second one on consent. I have no comments. Do I have anybody to introduce now? We do not, okay, all right. And I don't, if anybody has anything they want to mention, obviously, time will be then. These are all these public hearings are the ones that we have declared as under the 21-19-11, so we called for them at the last one. These will just be public hearings and then consideration of that declaration, so.
Well, with the exception of, yeah, right,
I'm sorry?
yeah, that's gonna be, is that?
Yeah, yes, well, I was just on this page, I'm sorry, I hadn't gotten to the next page, but yeah, the first, however many that is, 5 are the public health, safety, and welfare.
Jason, do you
F
have
is
any
not.
updates on if there've been any concessions maybe between the Maison DeVille folks and the?
Been in communication with the Maison DeVille folks as of yesterday with their conditions. been back and forth. I don't know if they've had any conversations with Mr. Cracker or not. Have been keeping the city staff in the loop on that, and so I'm not sure where if they're going to have any more conversations with them or not, but still trying to work through some of that.
Okay. Anything, Dr. Kim, that, anything newer than that?
Any development from the developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
If these things are sold as a condo, and somebody has the means to rent them out and they want to buy one and let their kid and a couple of buddies live in it, can we prevent that? I mean, I don't know what.
Well, it'd be condo-
If somebody bought a house next door to me, I don't know how you can prevent it.
Yeah, the condo association requirements and allowances.
Well, I mean, I get that, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on it? Just your ward.
I do think that, I think from the neighbors, their biggest concerns are, how is it going to impact my property in terms of the visual disturbance that it might cause with this property being higher than Maison DeVille. And I think what is it going to look like and so forth, but I think their biggest concern is the rental piece. And I think that's where a lot of the discussion has hinged on. Talking with city staff, I think it's difficult for the city to enforce that, and that's a question I actually have for council about what are the legal routes to potentially be able to take in that regard. But I think that's going to be part of the discussion that we have on Tuesday. Going to revolve around those two issues, and I do think that there's some general agreement for the appearance and so forth of what the property might look like. I think where the major disagreement still is on the rental piece, or the lack of being able to rent, and so I think that's where we're going to have to make a decision.
Under the current zoning right now, Dr. Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, they could come in there. I know there's probably not enough time before the code got.
They can build a commercial.
They could build a commercial Dollar General,
Gas
Dollar
station.
Tree, gas station.
Correct.
And to me, I don't know, it concerns me that we're getting so caught up with someone trying to control adjacent property. And if you want to have that much control, buy it, in my opinion. I've had a vacant lot next to me for years, and someone built on it. And I love being able to dump my dirt, my grass clippings and everything over there next door. And I love my neighbor next door, but I could have bought it if I would like to continue doing that. But I mean, it's just troubling to some degree to see that the extent neighbors can try to have on adjacent property. And when you buy in a place, if it's adjacent, if it's vacant next to you, at some point, it's going to develop.
Well, and this
And
is
the only way to
just
control it is to
conditional
buy it.
use as opposed to actual
Well, and
use
what
of
would have been worse, a convenience store with lights shining over your fence on the zero lot line? I don't know, I'm kind of troubled by it to some degree, and how much control what someone else is trying to exert on the neighboring property. Bottom line, they don't want anything next door, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Anyway, that won't be something we can put on consent, but.
I understand.
Got it. So, okay, maybe some things will get worked out between now and Tuesday. All right, and under mayor's business, which I thought I wasn't gonna have any business, but our computer for the outdoor warning sirens has gone out, so we need to purchase that. So that works for consent, so. And this remaining item is, if you've noticed, we've had a flurry of food trucks coming up. We currently have no fire code related to food trucks because our fire code is the 2012, and the 2018 is the most, Chief is not here. I think the 2018 and 2020. But anyway, the 2018 is the most recent code that addresses fire safety with food trucks. And so what we've done is, and Steen McMullen and Chief Yarborough pulled that particular section out of the 2018 code to just put it into our existing code so that we can have something that addresses fire safety as it relates to food trucks. Mr. Latimer, do you have an addition to that?
I do. So that's what you guys will see in your packet is the actual 2018 International Fire Code. What I'm thinking to be as clean and neat as possible is we would then just add a provision to our transient vendor ordinance that says all transient vendors involved in mobile food preparation shall comply with Section 319 of the 2018 International Fire Code. So instead of writing 100 sentences, we'll just have that one sentence. But that's not what's going to be in the packet. The actual code will be in the packet, so you guys will see what will apply to these food trucks.
And this is just calling for a public hearing, so this will be coming back to us next time. So this is just the calling for a public hearing.
I don't like that approach.
Okay, consent for that. Okay, then we have this discussion and consideration of the police chief appointment, which is obviously discussion and consideration, so that would not be consent element. And I don't, the chief was here, he's not here now, so, but I think that's, hold that discussion for Tuesday night. Then the midwinter conference, any issues, I assume we can all agree that consent on that one? And I was joking with Lisa when we were having our department head meeting about not, I was not going to be in attendance, and so she decided to add me to this list of people who are not attending, but, it was not intentional, so, anyway.
Get more critics at that.
I'm sorry?
You get more credits than midwinter you get anyway.
That's true.
Pick most of the credits up at midwinter.
All right, and consideration of filling a vacancy for the Heritage Museum, we have 2 applicants. And the one is Barbara Coates and the other one is Corey Gallo, who has been serving on it to fill out, I've forgotten whose term, anyway, somebody's term. So anyway, those folks will have an opportunity to visit with them about that. Airport has nothing, and beyond that, then under planning, we've got variance requests for setbacks and a certificate of appropriateness, which the HPC has approved for this porch and roof at 511 Greensboro.
That's it, but they don't consent.
Anybody problem with that for consent? No? Okay. Ms. West is the only one who's vying for the Ward 2 vacancy, and Sandra's
Appreciate her doing that.
glad that she got somebody who wanted to serve in that position, so.
This means she'll be moving in about a year for this.
Yeah, if your trend continues. The next thing is, Dr. Kim has not been satisfied with our work. Dr. Kim, do you want to share anything about your MyGov? This is in his budget, but he wants to go to a different vendor and a more robust vendor for work orders and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yes, iWork system has been used by us and other departments at the same time, but iWork has some defects. For example, if you utilize, if you create a request, and then you're gonna have to create a permit management through the request, and then you're gonna have to get through several steps, and then if you wanna modify applications, you cannot actually import it. So, and then there is a maximum capacity or limitations of the file uploading. So there was a lot of limitations we can handle. So we have been looking for several vendors, as you will see in the packet, that we looked at the Taylor system and community, central community, and also MyGov, and we found that most of them are actually addressing those issues and easy to use. And then also we found that MyGov is cheapest. So we want to go with the MyGov, and other staff members and outside the department had also looked at it, and they were satisfied.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Consent?
Consent is fine with me if everybody's good with that. I mean, I don't have anything to say about it, so. All right, engineering, we have declaration of surplus. Yeah, that's great.
That second part of that one, though?
Oh, yes.
Be sure to say that out loud.
And yes, the new asphalt patching truck, because one we've got right now is currently down. So we're using coal mix today to try to fill potholes that developed over with all the rain. Then we have a street department truck, also declaration. And then Neil Schaefer's consultant for, okay, this is the emergency road and bridge replacement for Old West Point Road, which we have the funding for. So this is Kevin Stafford is going to do that? I'm sorry?
What happens?
That's the first one, somebody hit the first bridge when you going in that curve there?
At Garrett Road and Old West Point Road.
Was it collapsed?
That's the one, no, that's the one that's, what's the limitation on it, Edward? It was
It's been rated, so we
Yeah.
applied, the money for this came from the special session last year, and we applied all 3 of our substandard bridges in the city, and we got approved for 2 of the 3. One was on Starkville High, the other one is this one, and then the third one, actually, the county is replacing in Pleasant Acres. So we'll have all of our load limit rated bridges.
Deficient bridges will be fixed?
Deficient bridges fixed. This is where it is, Alderman Vaughn, right here. This Garrett Road going across, and then Old West Point Road is just south.
Should be the Vice Mayor's.
Oh, that's why the one that's sinking.
Yeah, it's sinking, and then the creek right there is starting to undermine around it, but it's in really bad shape. We're planning on bringing the bridge further south, and trying to make that channel less of a 90-degree bend right there, a little bit smoother, and to stabilize that bank to where there's not as much erosion.
And you're also gonna have a sidewalk, aren't you?
We will have the bridge wide enough to accommodate a sidewalk path on that one side of the bridge.
Is that all state money, or we're going
It's
to match?
100% no match,
Yeah.
unless we go over, which
Which you will not do, right?
we will not do.
We'll make sure, Kevin Stafford's got to help make sure we don't do
Hey,
that.
since you,
Yes, sir.
you know, after you turn and go like you're going toward West Point,
Consent.
okay, that first bridge,
We have the railing.
some of the rail.
Yes,
that's
sir.
right.
Yeah, we're trying to
okay.
get some replacement parts for that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Edward, is this going to be an actual bridge, or is this going to be a box culvert?
This will most likely need to be a bridge, a longer span bridge, in order to accommodate that
Channel.
skew now. But we'll know that once we get into the details.
All right.
All right, and then the restructuring of the engineering department.
Better leave that off, I like it, you know, for the
Sure.
ones that aren't here.
Okay. Claims docket will stay off, and then we have financing for the front loader truck for the sanitation department. So, any issues with that one?
No.
Okay. Consent for that one. All right, we have acceptance of a grant for the fire department, which is great for hazardous materials training, and we do have the matching funds for that, so any issues with consent on that one? And then a commercial burn permit. And the chief is happy with it, and it's not burn, there's no burn ban any longer, so that's good news. And then, looks like HR grew since Wednesday. We have hiring entry-level firefighters, and advertising for 2 part-time customer service reps in Starkville Utilities, and it's Terry is just trying to make sure that we are adequately serving our public, right? Okay. Yes, yes, okay. Issues there. Changing the classification, probably I'll leave that off and let that have a little bit of discussion. The Sean Johnson classification, superintendent, chief water operator. Just have a little discussion, just to kind of give everybody the flow of how that goes. Okay. And then advertising for water operations managers is a part of that. Customer service rep, advertising, is that a new?
That's Chandra, we have a
Oh, that was Chandra. Okay, I'm sorry, yes. All right, so advertising for a customer service rep, and then replacing the lineman as well. And then this is to bring Curtis White on full-time as a parking enforcement person.
Can I say just the easiest
Yeah.
bit about that? Mr. White's been with us for a long time and has served as a part-time employee. By making him full-time, we are essentially creating another police position, although his focus is parking and bailiff. To fund that, what we're going to wind up doing, and I think the chief understands this, we've talked about it, to fund that, we're going to have to take funds out of their part-time temporary positions where they were going to be looking outside the police department to for special events where they needed staff and they could bring people in for just a weekend or something like that. So their ability to be flexible goes down, but they do create another police officer position. So.
And Mr. White's been working with us for a long time, so.
He has been.
He's been serving as the court bailiff on a regular basis and then doing the parking part-time, so.
And he
40 hours.
marked
or-
my tires Friday.
Yeah, 20 hours a week, so. Any issues with that one? Okay, and then authorization to advertise for part-time radio dispatcher.
And
So,
that's a temporary position, is that,
now that's
We
temporary.
We have an employee going out on medical leave.
but temporary, not just part-time, but part-time temporary.
And the Partnership Gateway Youth Program, that's the down, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, you are gonna pull it, okay, so we can scratch that one? Okay. Alrighty, and the others are purchasing a Dare vehicle, off-state contract. Any issues with that? Sanitation is declaring surplus, and then purchasing the new Dodge Ram pickup. Issues with that one? And then we have travel for utilities and source of supply. So, any issues with any of that? Okay, nothing has cropped up, Chris, from an executive session standpoint.
No, ma'am.
So, that ought to take care of us. Anybody? Everybody? All right, cool. Thank you. Everyone have a great weekend.
Have a great
And we
weekend,
will
everybody.
look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Ward Central tonight? Is that where it is?